Hello, students, and welcome to lesson number 5, The 100 Dresses, written by Elsor Esther. How do we judge the people around us? By their money, wealth, and possessions? Or is there something of more enduring value to look for in a person? This story is a sensitive account of how a poor young girl is judged by her classmates. Wanda Petronsky is a young Polish girl who goes to school with other American children in an American town. These other children see Wanda as different in many ways. And can you guess how they treat her? But before we go to the lesson, we'll just read about the information that is given in this box below. Find out more about this community or about a related topic from an encyclopedia or on the internet. The Polish American community in the United States. The first Polish immigrants arrived in America in 1608, but the largest wave of Polish immigration occurred in the early 20th century, where more than 1 million Poles migrated to the United States. The Polish state did not exist at that time, and the immigrants were identified according to their country of origin rather than their ethnicity. They were identified as Russian Poles, German Poles, and Austrian Poles. One of the most notable Polish American communities is in Chicago and its suburbs. So, Chicago is sometimes called the second largest Polish city in the world, next only to Warsaw, the capital of Poland. Polish Americans were sometimes discriminated against in the United States, as were the Irish, Italians, and Jews. According to the United States 2000 census, 6,67,414 Americans of age 5 and older reported Polish as the language spoken at home, which is about 1.4% of the people who speak languages other than English, or 0.25% of the US population. Now, this information is regarding the Polish people living in America. So, what it says here is that the first Polish people to have come to America was in 1608, but the largest number occurred in the early 20th century when more than 1 million Poles came to the United States, and that means Poland did not exist at that time. So all the people who came there were identified either as Russian. Poles means coming from Russia, coming from Germany, and coming from Austria. And one of the most famous Polish American communities is where in Chicago. It's a big city in America, and suburbs is the surrounding area. So Chicago is sometimes called as the second largest Polish city in the world. Next only to, that means larger than Chicago, is Warsaw, which is the capital of Poland. So naturally you will have Poles living there. And Polish Americans were discriminated. That means people did not like, they considered them as foreigners and they did not accept them as Americans. And also, not only were the Polish people discriminated against, but also the people from Ireland, Irish, people from Italy, the Italians, and people from Israel, that is the Jewish people, they too were discriminated against by the Americans. Then, according to the census, 2000 census, 6,67,414 Americans above the age of 5, they reported Polish as the language spoken at home. That means there were so many people speaking Polish. Now, before we go on to the lesson, let me introduce you to the author Elsor Esther. Elsor Esther is a renowned author. She is known for her children's stories. The Hundred Dresses is one of her famous writing. Some of her famous works include Ginger Pie, the Moffats series, The Echoing Green, The Alley, and many others. She was awarded the Newbery Medal for her writing The Ginger Pie. Okay, children, now let us begin with the lesson. Today, Monday, Wanda Petronsky was not in her seat, But nobody, not even Peggy and Madeline, the girls who started all the fun, noticed her absence. Usually, Wanda sat in the seat next to the last seat in the last row in room 13. She sat in the corner of the room where the rough boys who did not make good marks sat. The corner of the room where there was most scuffling of feet, most roars of laughter when anything funny was said, and most mud and dirt on the floor. Wanda did not sit there because she was rough and noisy. On the contrary, she was very quiet and rarely said anything at all. And nobody had ever heard her laugh out loud. Sometimes she twisted her mouth into a crooked sort of a smile, but that was all. So, here, children, as we can see, the meaning of the word scuffling of feet is like when you're walking and you don't lift your feet and walk, when you drag it, it is said to be scuffling of feet. So, the lesson begins with a new week. It is Monday, and Wanda Petronsky is a surname. Wanda is a name. She is not in her seat in the class, but nobody. That means the other girls in the class, Peggy, Madeline, short form for Madeline is Maddie. So Peggy and Maddie, the girls who always made fun of her, they noticed that she was absent. And usually she sat in the seat which was next to the last seat in the last row of that class. And she sat where all the rough boys who did not, they're not so good, they were not good at studies and they made a lot of noise and they kept on laughing when anything funny was said. And that was the dirtiest part of the classroom because they came in with mud and dirt on their shoes. And Wanda did not sit there because she was rough and noisy, but because she felt very out of place. She did not feel that she belonged to this class and to all the where the other girls sat. She did not feel like sitting there. So she was very quiet by nature and hardly ever spoke. And no one ever heard her laugh out loud. And sometimes she just gave a crooked sort of a smile, and that was all. Nobody knew why she sat in that seat, unless it was because she came all the way from Boggins Height. Now, that was a location where people who were very poor and, not Americans, all these people who had immigrants lived there at Boggins Height. And her feet were usually caked with dry mud. But no one really thought much about Wanda Petronsky once she sat in the corner of the room. The time when they thought about Wanda was outside of school hours, at noontime when they were coming back to school, or in the morning early before school began, when groups of two or three or even more would be talking and laughing on their way to the schoolyard. Then sometimes they waited for Wanda to have fun with her. The next Tuesday, Wanda was not in school either, and nobody noticed her absence again. So, here, as we see how Wanda is described, how the other girls in the class kept, they waited for chances to make fun of her because she was an immigrant. She was not very, her financial condition was not good. She belonged to, a poor family. And so she felt very alien. She felt she didn't belong to the class, so she sat separately where the naughty boys, the ones who were not good at study, she sat there quietly. And then they noticed that she wasn't there. But when they were in the class, that was not when they paid her any attention. The only time when they paid attention to her was when, when she was coming to school, when school was over and they were going home at that time. And the reason why they noticed her at that time was because they stood there in groups of twos and threes and they wanted to make fun of her. They would be laughing and talking. And in order to poke fun of her and make fun of her, that was the reason why. So, Monday she wasn't there, and the next day, Tuesday, also Wanda was not in school. And nobody noticed her absence again because in the class they had their own things to think about. But on Wednesday, Peggy and Maddie, who sat down front with the other children who got good marks and who didn't track in a lot of mud, did notice that Wanda wasn't there. Peggy was the most popular girl in school. She was pretty, she had many pretty clothes, and she had curly hair. Maddie was her closest friend. The reason Peggy and Maddie noticed Wanda's absence was because Wanda had made them late to school. So here, as we can see, Monday and Tuesday, Wanda had not come to school. While they were in the class, they didn't notice her absence, only noticed she was not there when they were leaving for school because they missed having someone to poke fun at. And then on Wednesday again, they noticed she wasn't there because before coming to school, they waited for her, waited to make fun of her. And she hadn't come. So they got late for school and now they were blaming her for being late to school. So let us continue reading. They had waited and waited for Wanda to have some fun with her. And she just hadn't come. They often waited for Wanda Petronsky to have fun with her. Actually, it was not to have fun with her, but to have fun at her expense. Like, they made fun of her and they enjoyed themselves. Wanda did not have anything to laugh about. So, let us continue reading further. Wanda Petronsky, most of the children in room 13 didn't have names like that. They had names easy to say, like Thomas, Smith, or Alan. There was one boy named Bounce, Willie Bounce, and people thought that was funny, but not funny in the same way that Petronsky was. Wanda didn't have any friends. She came to school alone and went home alone. She always wore a faded blue dress that didn't hang right. It was clean, but it looked as though it had never been ironed properly. She didn't have any friends, but a lot of girls talked to her. Sometimes they surrounded her in the schoolyard as she stood watching the little girls play hopscotch on the worn hard ground. Wanda, Peggy would say in a most courteous manner, as though she was talking to Miss Mason. Wanda, she'd say, giving one of her friends a nudge. Tell us, how many dresses did you say you had hanging up in your closet? So, when they noticed that Wanda had not come for 3 days, then, they thought about her and then they thought that, oh, what a funny name this girl has. All other students in the class had names like Thomas, Smith, or Alan, but there was once a boy by the name of Bounce, Willie Bounce, and people thought it was quite funny, but they didn't find that name as funny as Wanda Petronsky. And Wanda was a loner. That means she didn't have any friends. She came to school alone, she went home alone, and she always wore the same dress. It was a faded blue dress because maybe every day she wore it to school, then washed it, and then wore it again. But it looked as though it had never been ironed. Maybe it had never been ironed. So she didn't have any friends. But a lot of girls talked to her. Sometimes they surrounded her. And what was the reason for that? When she stood, she liked to stand and watch the little children, little girls play hopscotch. Hopscotch is a game in which children hop into and over squares marked on the ground. They go like, jumping over that, hopping. So it's called hopscotch. And the meaning of didn't hang right is she wore a dress that just was didn't fit properly. It was quite loose. Then Wanda, Peggy would say in a most courteous, that means in a very polite manner. And then a nudge means giving a gentle push, like you would give nudge somebody with your elbow. So then, they enjoyed waiting for her and asking her, Wanda, how many dresses did you say you have hanging in your closet at home? And then Wanda would answer. So here we can see how those girls are standing there making fun of her. Here, all of them are just waiting for her, like to have fun at her expense. Then Wanda would reply, 100. 100! Exclaimed all the little girls incredulously. Now, the meaning of the word incredulous is they were not willing, they were unwilling to believe what she said. And the little ones would stop playing hopscotch and listen. Yeah, yeah, 100 all lined up, said Wanda. Then her thin lips drew together in silence. What are they like? All silk, I bet, said Peggy. Yeah, all silk, all colors. Velvet too? Yeah, velvet too. 100 dresses. Wanda would repeat stolidly, all lined up in my closet. Now, the meaning of the word stolidly is not showing any feeling. That means like in a very resigned manner. Then they'd let her go. And then, before she'd gone very far, They couldn't help bursting into shrieks and peals of laughter. That means they would be bursting out, laughing extremely. They would be screaming with laughter. Then exaggerated means to in a very loud way. Then 100 dresses. Obviously, the only dress that Wanda had was the one she wore every day. So why did she say she had 100? What a story. How many shoes did you say you had? 60 pairs, all lined up in my closet. Cries of exaggerated politeness greeted this. All alike? Oh no, every pair is different. All colors, all lined up. Peggy, who had thought up this game, and Maddie, her inseparable friend, were always the last to leave. Finally, Wanda would move up the street, her eyes dull and her mouth closed, hitching her left shoulder every now and then in the funny ways she had, finishing the walk to school alone. So, here, as we can see, children, that all these girls used to wait for her before school, after school, in order to have fun at her expense. She was a poor little girl. She did not belong. She was an outsider. She had a funny name, and then she wore only one dress to school. They didn't have a uniform. She wore one dress, and that too was ill-fitting. So they kept on asking her, "How many dresses do you have at home? How many shoes do you have at home?" And poor little Wanda would answer, "I have 100 dresses in my closet." And the moment she moved away, they would start laughing. Just imagine 100 dresses. Why does she speak such lies when everyone knows that she has only one dress that she wears every day? Then they would ask her, they would go further and ask, "How many shoes do you have?" And she would say 60 pairs. They would say, "Oh, all the same?" She said, "No, no, no. They're all different colored." And then this game was taught by Peggy, who was a clever girl, a rich girl, a good looking girl with curly hair, and along with her, her inseparable friend. That means Peggy and Maddie were always together. They were the last to leave. And then Wanda knew that these girls were having fun at her expense, and so she would move there with her eyes very dull, not liking their behavior, but not having anything to say. And then, in a very sad manner, she'd walk all alone to school and then back home. Peggy was not really cruel by nature. She protected small children from bullies, and she cried for hours if she saw an animal mistreated by anyone. If anybody had said to her, "Don't you think that is a very cruel way to treat Wanda?" she would have been very surprised. Cruel? Why did the girl say she had 100 dresses? Anybody could tell that was just a lie. Why did she want to lie? And she wasn't just an ordinary person. Else, why did she have a name like that? Anyway, they never made her cry. As for Maddie, this business of asking Wanda every day how many dresses and how many hats and how many shoes. So here, as we can see, Peggy and Maddie had a lot of fun, teasing and getting information out of Wanda. But the meaning of the word bullies is people who like having fun at, it's normally older children who like to tease, who like to trouble and have fun at the expense of other children. Normally, it's older children who have fun at the those who are weaker, or they are stronger, and so they want to show off how strong they are by bullying them. And mistreated is not to treat in a proper manner, to treat someone very badly. So then every day they'd keep asking her. And if anyone told Peggy that she was cruel, she would have been very surprised, because normally she protected smaller children from bullies. She cried for hours if anyone mistreated an animal. But she didn't realize that by doing what she was doing along with Maddie, she was being very cruel to another human being. She was sensitive to animals and to little children, but she was not sensitive enough to realize that daily she was bullying and ragging Wanda. And how many this and how many that she had was bothering her. Maddie was poor herself. She usually wore somebody's hand-me-down clothes. Thank goodness she didn't live up on Boggins Heights or have a funny name. Sometimes, when Peggy was asking Wanda those questions in that mocking, polite voice, Maddie felt embarrassed and studied the marbles in the palm of her hand, rolling them around and saying nothing herself. Not that she felt sorry for Wanda exactly. She would never have paid any attention to Wanda if Peggy hadn't invented the dresses game. But suppose Peggy and all the others started in on her next. She wasn't as poor as Wanda, perhaps, but she was poor. Of course, she would have had more sense than to say she had 100 dresses. Still, she would not like for them to begin on her. She wished Peggy would stop teasing Wanda Petronsky. So here we can see that Peggy and Maddie were good friends. But Maddie, Peggy was the one who was rich and very well to do and clever and good looking. But Maddie was just like someone who was a close friend, but she knew that what Peggy was doing was not right. But she did not have the courage to say so. Now, hand-me-down clothes means like when you wear somebody else's clothes, like somebody wears new clothes and after they are a little faded or they have outgrown those, they give them to you, then they are called hand-me-down. So normally Maddie was not very like richer than Wanda. She was not she was not as poor as Wanda, but she also wore clothes that other people gave her, but she thanked her stars that she did not live on Boggins Heights because that was where the really poor people lived. And she was also happy that she didn't have a funny name. So sometimes when Peggy kept asking those questions, Maddie felt very embarrassed and she had marbles in the palm of her hand and she kept rolling them. She never felt sorry for Wanda. She thought that Wanda had brought this trouble all on herself by saying that she had 100 dresses, 60 pair of shoes, and so many hats and so on. She thought in her mind that why should anybody exaggerate and tell a lie? Everyone knew that she had only one dress, so why should she tell such a lie? She didn't know. But she, in her heart of hearts, she wished that Peggy would stop teasing Wanda Petronsky. Now, children, let us continue reading further. Today, even though they had been late to school, that was on that Wednesday, Maddie was glad she had not had to make fun of Wanda. She worked her arithmetic problems absent-mindedly. 8 times 8, let's see. She wished she had the nerve to write Peggy a note because she knew she would never have the courage to speak right out to Peggy to say, "Hey Peg, let's stop asking Wanda how many dresses she has." When she finished her arithmetic, she did start a note to Peggy. Suddenly, she paused and shuddered. She pictured herself in the schoolyard, a new target for Peggy and the girls. Peggy might ask her where she got the dress that she had on, and Maddie would have to say it was one of Peggy's old ones that Maddie's mother had tried to disguise. So here, even though they had become late for school because they were waiting for Wanda, then Maddie was very happy that Wanda wasn't there because in her heart of hearts she didn't like the fun that Peggy was making of her. So she decided to concentrate on her arithmetic. And then she thought that I know what Peggy is doing is not good. I don't like what she is doing to Wanda. But she knew that she was not brave enough to tell Peggy to her face that, "Hey Peg, stop asking Wanda how many dresses she has." And then she thought, what if they stop making fun of Wanda and they start making fun of me? What if Peggy asked me, "Where did you get that dress from?" And she knew that that was uh, Peggy's dress. Now that she had outgrown that, she had given it to her. And Maddie's mother had tried to disguise it with new trimmings so that no one in room 13 would recognize it. Children, the meaning of shuddered is to shiver. And a new target means a person deliberately chosen in order to make fun or to attack. To disguise is to try and hide with new trimmings with some kind of decoration so that no one in room 13 would recognize it as being Peggy's dress. So let's read on further. If only Peggy would decide on her own accord, that means of her own wish, to stop having fun with Wanda, Oh, well, Maddie ran her hand through her short blonde hair as though to push the uncomfortable thoughts away. What difference did it make? Slowly, Maddie tore into bits the note she had started. She was Peggy's best friend, and Peggy was the best liked girl in the whole room. Peggy could not possibly do anything that was really wrong, she thought. As for Wanda, she was just some girl who lived up on Boggins Heights and stood alone in the schoolyard. She scarcely ever said anything to anybody. The only time she talked was in the schoolyard about 100 dresses. Maddie remembered her telling about one of her dresses, pale blue with colored trimmings, and she remembered another that was brilliant jungle green with a red sash. You'd look like a Christmas tree in that, the girls had said in pretended admiration. So, Maddie thought to herself that if only Peggy on her own wish would stop having fun, and then she tried to get those thoughts out of her mind, and so she ran her hand through her hair. Blonde is yellow in color. Then she thought, what difference does it make? Anyway, she knew that she didn't have the guts, she didn't have the courage to tell her. So the note that she wrote to Peggy, she tore that. And anyway, she didn't want to stop being Peggy's friend because Peggy was very rich and she was smart and she was clever and good looking. And so everyone in the class liked her. And there was nothing that Peggy could do that was wrong. And so she thought, now, why am I thinking all these thoughts? And she thought, as for Wanda, she was just a girl who lived on Boggins Heights. Everyone knew that particular place, and she never spoke much to anyone except for in the afternoon when she was in the schoolyard and they asked her about her dresses, her shoes, her hats. And then Maddie remembers her telling, describing one of her dresses that was pale blue with colored trimmings, that means with decorations. And then she spoke about another dress that was jungle green in color with a red sash. She said, oh, they tried to pretend that they were feeling very happy about that dress. They pretended admiration, that they were very, amazed at what she was telling them. But, they were making fun of her. Thinking about Wanda and 100 dresses all lined up in the closet, Maddie began to wonder who was going to win the drawing and coloring contest. For girls, this contest consisted of designing dresses, and for boys, of designing motorboats. Probably Peggy would win the girls' medal. Peggy drew better than anyone else in the room. At least that's what everybody thought. She would copy a picture in a magazine or some film star's head so that you could almost tell who it was. Oh, Maddie was sure Peggy would win. Well, tomorrow the teacher was going to announce the winners. Then they'd know. So then, as Maddie was thinking about Wanda and her dresses and all that, she then suddenly came to her mind the thought about the drawing competition. Who was going to win it? Then she knew that, oh, her friend Peggy would surely win because her drawing skills were much better than anyone else's. And even though she never drew anything creatively that was her own, she just copied something from a magazine or from some film star's head, and yet she was sure that she would win. Anyway, the teacher would tell them about the winner the next day, and then they would know who won. The next day it was drizzling. That means a very light rain was falling. Maddie and Peggy hurried to school under Peggy's umbrella. Naturally, on a day like this, they didn't wait for Wanda Petronsky on the corner of Oliver Street, the street that far, far away under the railroad tracks and up the hill led to Boggins Heights. Anyway, they weren't taking chances on being late today because today was important. So they had spent some days in the week waiting for Wanda, waiting to have a lot of fun at her expense, but she didn't turn up. And so that day they didn't wait for her. And anyway, it was raining, so they they hurried to school under Peggy's umbrella, and they knew that Wanda lived far away, and so they didn't want to take any chance on being late as it was an important day. Do you think Miss Mason will announce the winners today? Asked Peggy. Oh, I hope so. The minute we get in, said Maddie. Of course you'll win, Peg. Hope so, said Peggy eagerly. The minute they entered the classroom, they stopped short and gasped. There were drawings all over the room on every ledge and windowsill, dazzling colors and brilliant, lavish designs, all drawn on great sheets of wrapping paper. There must have been 100 of them all lined up. These must be the drawings for the contest. They were. Everybody stopped and whistled or murmured admiringly. As soon as the class had assembled, Miss Mason announced the winners. Jack Beggles had won for the boys, she said, and his design for an outboard motor was on exhibition in room 12, along with the sketches by all the other boys. As for the girls, she said, although just one or two sketches were submitted by most, one girl in room 13 should be proud of her. This one girl actually drew 100 designs. So, as we can see, both the girls, Peggy and Maddie, hurried up to school as they wanted to know who was the winner, who were the winners to the drawing contest, which girl and which boy won. And so they were waiting very impatiently, eagerly for the teacher to announce the winners. And the moment they entered, they stopped. They stopped in their tracks. They couldn't move further. And what was the reason for that? All around the classroom, they saw drawings on every windowsill, on every nook and corner. There were beautiful drawings, brilliant, lavish designs, all drawn on big sheets of wrapping paper. There must have been 100 drawings. And everyone stopped and whistled or murmured admiringly. That means all of them admired, they loved those drawings. And lavish means really grand. And as soon as the class had assembled and they were seated, Miss Mason announced the winners. Jack Beggles had won among the boys, and all his designs for an outboard motor were exhibited in room number 12, along with all the other sketches that the other boys had made. And then, as for the girl, she said, although just one or two sketches were given by most, but one girl, and she said that the whole class should feel very proud of her. And it was one girl who had submitted all the 100 designs. All were different and all beautiful. In the opinion of the judges, any one of the drawings is worthy of winning the prize. I am very happy to say that Wanda Petronsky is the winner of the girls' medal. So the teacher announced very proudly that everyone in the class should be proud of Wanda. And what was the reason? That she had submitted 100 drawings, but even one of them was worthy of being awarded a prize. And these are the wonderful creations that she had. We can see all the different dresses that are there, the wonderful designs and patterns made by Wanda Petronsky. Unfortunately, Wanda has been absent from school for some days and is not here to receive the applause, is all the claps that are due to her. Let us hope she will be back tomorrow. Now, class, you may file around the room quietly and look at her exquisite drawings. Now, the meaning of the word exquisite is extremely beautiful and well made. So, the children burst into applause. I mean, they started clapping suddenly and without anyone telling them. They couldn't stop themselves, and even the boys were glad to have a chance to stamp on the floor, put their fingers in their mouths and whistle. Although they were not interested in dresses, but they couldn't help exclaiming that these were really wonderful. Look, Pegs, whispered Maddie. There's that blue one she told us about. Isn't it beautiful? Yes, said Peggy. And here's that green one. Boy, and I thought I could draw. At that time, when the girls and the boys also, with great admiration, they stamped their feet and they really appreciated dresses. Even the girls couldn't stop themselves from they started clapping without anyone telling them to. And then they realized that Wanda had been speaking the truth. She didn't have real dresses, but in her mind, she was talking about the dresses that she had drawn. One was the blue one, the other one was the green and the red one. And then they realized and they said, oh boy. And Peggy said, I thought I could draw, but I am nothing in front of Wanda. That means she really appreciated that what Wanda had drawn. So here, children, we come to the end of the lesson. Now, let us go through the question answers of the lesson, question answers of this lesson. The first question is, how is Wanda seen as different by the other girls, and how do they treat her? Yes, let's think about it. How is Wanda seen? Is she accepted by the other girls? And do they treat her in a very nice manner? Do they accept her as one of them? So, all of us know that Wanda was seen as being somebody very different. First of all, she was not an American, she was Polish. Then she was not in the same financial bracket as them. She was a poor girl and she wore just one dress every day. So they treated her as though she was a nobody. They did not give her any importance. So, they only waited for her so that they could make fun of her when they were coming to school in the lunch at lunch break time and as they were going home. How does Wanda feel about the dresses game? And why does she say that she has 100 dresses? So, in reality, Wanda came from a very poor Polish family that had migrated to America. So she couldn't have had 100 dresses, right? Because she was poor. Besides, if she had, she would not have always worn that faded blue dress that she wore to school every day. Whenever Peggy asked her about the number of dresses she said she had 100 of silk and velvet dresses all lined up in her closet. And these were the dresses that she had painted on paper. And that's why she said that she had them. She was very good at drawing and she made these dresses. So she was not lying, she was partially telling the truth. They were different from real cloth dresses. But she knew the girls were making fun of her. And she tried to give them a very dignified answer and self respecting answer instead of allowing them to make fun of her. Why does Maddie stand up and not do anything? How is she different from Peggy? Was Peggy's friendship important to Maddie? Why and which lines in the text tell you this? Maddie was not really bothered about Peggy asking Wanda about the number of dresses she had because she was very poor and wore somebody's hand-me-down clothes. She wished that Peggy would stop teasing Wanda, but she couldn't tell Peggy directly, so she started writing her a note. But then she stopped and she thought, okay, if I write this note to Peggy, and what if they stop making fun of Wanda and start making fun of me? That is why she didn't have the courage, she didn't have the backbone enough to tell her. Then everyone would know it was Peggy's old dress. Peggy used to give her old clothes to Maddie, and so she was indebted to her. So everyone would know. She wished that Peggy would on her own stop teasing Wanda. So she tore the note that she had written to her, as Peggy was her best friend and the best liked girl in that class, and she came to the conclusion that Peggy would not do anything that was wrong. What does Miss Mason think of Wanda's drawings? And what do the children think of them? How do you know? Well, Miss Mason announced Wanda Petronsky as the winner among the girl contestants. She had got a wonderful medal. She had submitted 100 dress designs. All the designs were very different but very beautiful. In the opinion of the judges, even one of them, if she had to submit even one of them, that was worthy of winning that prize. The children agreed that Wanda was worthy of that medal that she got. And so they burst into applause. They started clapping wholeheartedly and spontaneously. The boys stamped on the floor and whistled. Even though they were not very interested in the dresses, they couldn't help admiring the dresses that she had drawn. The girls also admired the dresses. Now let us think about the language. Look at these sentences. She sat in the corner of the room where the rough boys who did not make good marks sat. The corner of the room where there was more scuffling of feet. Now, these words in italics, the italicized clauses, help us to identify a set of boys. What kind of boys who did not make good marks? And then, so which corner did they sit in? Where there was more scuffling of feet means the most noise, dragging of feet. Then, which corner did she sit in? So, all that, what particular time, these are defining or restrictive relative clauses. Now, compare them with the non-defining relative clauses in Unit 1. So, you'll have to go back to that chapter and revise again. Combine the following in order to make sentences like these. So here, the first one. This is the bus which goes to Agra. I would like to buy the shirt. Which shirt? Which is in the shop window. You must break your fast at a particular time when. So you must break your fast when you see the moon in the sky. Then number 4. Find a word. It begins with the letter Z. Find a word that begins with the letter Z. Then the next one. Now find a person. Which kind of a person? His or her name begins with the letter Z. Now find a person whose name begins with the letter Z. Then the sixth one. Then go to a place. What place? There are no people whose names begin with Z in that place. Then go to the place where there are no people whose name begins with Z. Then the narrative voice. This story is in the third person. That is, the narrator is not a participant in the story. That means is in the third person. What is third person? He, she, or it, or they. Okay. So we have pronouns, right? In the first person, second person, third person. First person is I. That is in the singular, and plural is we. Second person is you in the singular and you in the plural. And the third person, thank goodness she did not live up on Boggins Heights or have a funny name. Whose thoughts do these words thank goodness express? Maddie's. She is very grateful that she is not as poor as Wanda. Then, here are two other sentences from the story. Can you see whose point of view the italicized words express? But on Wednesday, Peggy and Maddie, who sat down front with other children who got good marks and who didn't track in a whole lot of mud, did notice that Wanda wasn't there. So, in the first one, it is the narrator's point of view. And the second one, Wanda Petronsky. Most of the children in room 13 didn't have names like that. They had names easy to say like Thomas, Smith, or Alan. It is also the narrator's point of view, the one who's telling the story. Can you find other such sentences in the story? You can do this after you read the second part of the story. Then look at this sentence. The italicized adverb expressions or point of view. Obviously, that means it was very clear. The only dress she had was the blue one she wore. It was obvious means clear. Other such adverbs are apparently, evidently, surprisingly, possibly, hopefully, incredibly, luckily. So use these words appropriately in the blanks given below. The first one is surprisingly. That means it was quite surprising that he finished his work on time. The second one is hopefully. It will not rain on the day of the match. So you're hoping for that. In the third one, evidently means it is clear that he has been stealing money from his employer, from his boss. Television is evidently, that means it's clear, to blame for the increase in violence in society because of all the serials and movies, things like that. The children will apparently means maybe learn from their mistakes. Number 6. I can't possibly, that means it is not possible for me to lend you that much money. I don't have it. Then the thief evidently means very clearly has been watching the house for many days. Then number 8. The thief possibly, that means it's quite possible. It may be. He may have escaped by bribing the jailer. Then number 9, surprisingly, no one had suggested this before. That means it's quite surprising. The last one, the water was incredibly, that means unbelievably hot. So, children, that is the end of the lesson. I hope you have understood that it is not good to discriminate against people who are not like us. They may be different, but they are still human beings and they are still just one of us. So, if somebody new comes to the school, then we must accept them as being part of our own. We must make them feel welcome and not discriminate against them and not poke fun of them and not trouble them or bully them. So let us learn a lesson from this, a lesson for life where we include everyone, we allow them to be part of our group and make them feel welcome. So thank you and have a nice day.